You are listening to The Catholic Wire.
Hello and welcome to the True Papacy. This is your host, Father Carlos Cepeda, and you are listening to The Catholic Wire. In today's introductory show, we're going to discuss the importance of the matter of the issue of the papacy, and we're going to let you know a little bit of what we're going to be covering in this show in future episodes. When it comes first to the importance of the papacy and the doctrine regarding the papacy, just how important do you think it is? Well, some people might say, Father, I don't really care about it. I can live my Catholic life, just fine without knowing anything about the Pope. And I'm not talking about the news, of the Vatican right now. I'm talking about the doctrine regarding to the papacy. And the question here is, just how important is it? Well, if we ask St. Robert Bellarmine, just how important is this question, he will answer. He will tell us that when we're discussing the papacy, the doctrine of the papacy, we are discussing the whole nature of Christianity. The whole nature of Christianity, of the whole Catholic Church, lies upon this doctrine of the papacy. Now, if you're a Protestant right now or a non-Catholic, you might hear this and you might be a little bit bewildered. But bear with me for a moment and we will discuss it further on. If you think that Christ called Peter the foundation of the church, he calls him the foundation of the church, then what is it to discuss the papacy, but to discuss whether if the Pope is there or not, or if he should be there or not? It equals to saying, should the church continue to exist, or should it be dissolved and ruined? What else is it if you ask me to remove the foundation of a building? What else is it if you ask me to remove a shepherd from a flock, a general from his army, the sun from the stars, the head from the body? You're telling me we need to destroy the building. We need to scatter the flock. We need to put this army to flight. We need to throw out the body. Remove the head, throw out the body. So when we're discussing the papacy, we're actually discussing the very nature of Christianity, the very nature of the church. And that's why it's so important to have the proper understanding, both for Catholics that are still following the modern new church, the Novus Ordo church, or to Catholics that are following tradition. There are many mistakes that are made by Catholics today in regards to this doctrine. And so we need to put it out there just as it has been delivered to us by the Church. Now, I will share a personal note with you. All other shows of this network, they have been fairly easy to begin and to start making them because they are doctrines that are fairly known by everyone. I think every good, well-learned Catholic could do a good show, perhaps a much better show than the one we have been making. But this doctrine, actually, this particular show, the one on the True Papacy, I have been shrinking from starting it just because it's such an important matter. And to me, in particular, as a priest, this is a matter that touches the very heart, the very core of us. Because as priests, as bishop, every bishop, every Catholic priest has in his heart a very special part that is devoted to the papacy. The papacy is, as we are going to discover, the foundation of the church. We're talking about the essence, the very essence of what is most important to us, the Catholic Church. So to me, this particular show is very, very important, and it touches very much to the heart of all good Catholics, I believe. Now, so that's one reason why we can see the doctrine of the papacy is very important. But there is another way. I would say there is two other ways in which we can find out just how important the doctrine of the papacy really is. One is given by Sir Robert Bellarmine. The other one, I think we can discover ourselves in today's day and age. The one given by Servant Bellarmine is this. If you look at how much the papacy has been attacked, you will realize just how important it is. Because in all the other dogmas, most of the Protestant sects or religion differ. Some of them will accept them, some of them will deny them. There is almost no dogma in the Catholic Church that has not been at least partially accepted by some Protestant sect. They will deny some, but then they will accept others. There is one dogma in particular that they do not accept, none of them. And that is the dogma of the papacy and the constitution of the Church, of the Catholic Church, as established by Christ. And the fact that this dogma in particular has been attacked with so much fury by all the enemies of the Church, from the lay enemies of the Church, governments, persecutions of the Church, to the religious, if you could call them that, enemies of the Church, heretics, schismatics, it's always against the Pope. Because if you think about it, if the devil is trying to attack the Church, he's not going to attack a window or a door or a certain wall. He's going to go for the foundation. He's going to attack the very foundation of the Church. That's the reason that St. Robert Bellarmine gives us, that tells us just how important the papacy truly is. Now, if we look at our day and age and the things that are occurring right now, we will see another reason. And that is, we see that in our day and age, the papacy has been lacking. We haven't had a Catholic Pope for a while. And for some people, this might be a surprise. Don't worry, we will cover that in the future. And feel free to send us messages or questions and try to rebuke and try to argue against it. We're totally fine with that. That will give us more light, and it will give us an opportunity to explain things further yet. We're rather trying to explain the truth. We're not trying to explain our own opinion. So we'll appreciate that for sure. But without further digression, if you notice, the thing that has changed the world in this last century is precisely whether if there was a Catholic Pope or not. Up to the middle of the 20th century, you could see that the world was going bad. Yes, there were bad things happening, but they were being held back. Many moral issues, many moral sins were being held back. Many evil doctrines were being held back. Many evil governments were being condemned by the Church and were being held back. And the Church, whether if people might deny it or not, some people might not acknowledge this, but it's true. The Catholic Church was the main enemy of communism and of all these ideas that we see now prevailing throughout the world. The Catholic Church was the main organism that was upholding the rights of life, the rights of, the right to forbid abortion, yes, the right to not use contraceptives. The Catholic Church was the one that was holding up all those columns of truth and morals. But it was the Catholic Church with the Pope. The moment that you remove the Pope from the middle, and we will see that this is actually in Scripture, the moment that you remove the Pope from the way, then the way is open for all the enemies of morality and of the revelation and of faith and of Christianity to basically take over the world. And we see that since we haven't had a Pope that was truly, practically Catholic, we have been lacking and we have been suffering a huge, furious advance of immorality and of perverse doctrines and of perverse and totalitarian governments, as we are even experiencing in our own day. So there are three reasons that point to us just how important the papacy is. The first one is the fact that, as we can see, to discuss the nature of the papacy means to discuss the whole nature of Christianity. The whole concept of the Christian Catholic Church changes. The second one is that we can see that there is no other doctrine in the Church that has been attacked so relentlessly as the doctrine of the papacy. And thirdly, we see that in our day and age, as soon as a Catholic Pope was not anymore in the Vatican, was not anymore in Rome, we saw the evils in the world multiply exponentially, multiply terribly. Now, having said that, and I hope that now all of our listeners will be willing and happy to listen to more about the doctrine of the papacy, I'm going to share with you what are the things that we will be posting or uploading, God willing, in this podcast. The first thing is we're going to be talking about the lives of the popes. We want to shed a light on how true popes, real Catholic popes, really were. What were their virtues, what things they had to go through, the difficulties that they encountered, the strength that some of them shown, and also the weakness that some of them had. And, we have, as every Catholic knows, there has been good popes and Catholic popes. But the amazing thing, and that's one of the things that is perhaps most astonishing, is that even bad popes, even popes that were perhaps weak or that were perhaps fooled or deceived in some certain matters, they never ever led the faithful astray in matters of faith or morals. They were totally safe when it came to that. Most of the mistakes made by the popes were mistakes either in their private moral life or in political matters, in political decisions that affected the discipline of the church, but never in matters of faith or morals. So some of the things that we're going to be discussing then is the lives of the popes. We will also be discussing some of the most important documents issued by popes, and here we're going to have a lot of documents with podcasts. Again, hopefully, God willing, if we get the opportunity to do it, we want to put several documents and highlight what are the most important things that one can find in those documents. As I was going through the monastery, through my studies in the monastery, one of the things that I found most interesting was precisely to study the encyclicals, the documents of the popes. What they call in the SSPX, they call it the Acts of the Magisterium. Now, in the SSPX, they study only a few, and as far as I know, I don't know how they do it now, and usually they study with the commentary of Bishop Lefebvre. Nothing wrong with that, but I think it's very, very important to study many of these documents because, as you will see, the popes issued the same teaching, the same doctrine over and over and over again. So that's going to be pretty much what we're going to have in this show. You will see these documents also in the Catholic Wire, ready for you to read and print, perhaps, and you will see this in podcasts as well. So that will be what we will be covering in this show of the True Papacy, to put a light on the true popes and to bring in that contrast between the true popes of the past and the hierarchy of the Novus Ordo Church, which we see today, which, as we will discover, have abandoned the faith and cannot be called really true Catholic popes. So, join us for these episodes. If you disagree with something that we say, if there is something that you don't like, please, as I said, reach out to us. And I will let you know that everything that we are going to cover is something that you can find in Catholic books. We're not going to be just bringing our own opinion here. These are things that you can truly find there. So even if you disagree with one point or another, I would encourage you to keep listening and to learn whatever you can from these episodes. Thank you for listening, and God bless you. This has been our introduction to the True Papacy with your host, Father Carlos Cepeda. And you are listening, of course, to the Catholic Wire.